So it's about 6 o'clock in the morning at the moment, and I am part of my usual day. I always wake up around 5:30, it seems, regardless of the year. Though in the summer it can be much earlier. It's whenever the sun comes up. I thought I'd try and do a video, or videos that I might stitch together if I remember, on a typical weekday, at least for me, which involves taking my daughter to school around 8 o'clock. So I don't eat before that, and so my breakfast is a glass of water, and that is all I will use to fuel my morning run. It is only, depending on the route, 2 to 3 miles, so you don't really need any fueling anyway. But it does help me sort of do some sort of intermittent fasting, so I generally eat my breakfast between 8:30 and 9, and then I'll eat my dinner straight after the afternoon school run, or before it, depending on after school clubs and stuff. So I'll finish eating between about 3 and 4, and I just find that works, generally speaking, really well for me. Yeah, so I will normally try and get down. I won't try to. I typically just happen to drink about a pint or so before I go to work. Before I go on the school run. Today on the school run, I shall be wearing a pair of my cheap barefoot shoes. So these are just a cheapo Amazon ones. I think it is from the Within ones, which they don't seem to be selling anymore at the moment, which is really annoying. But they're still fairly flexible, incredibly thin, and pretty wide. And my feet do fit in them in an 8.5. Whereas before I went into barefoot shoes, I was having to fit into size 10 shoes because that was what I needed for the width of my feet and my toes. So yeah, that works great for me. So this video will continue later. I might record something a little bit on the way back from the school run about the sort of paces that I'm running. I actually thought of another sort of school run bit that I can put in my routine and video. So I also typically have a bright light, especially in the winter, that I will sit in front of for at least half an hour or so, just to help wake me up. I'm hoping to get a sort of infrared heat lamp as well for the winter, which would be great. And the other thing I do, which I do throughout the day, is every time I go to the loo or just get up for whatever reason, as frequently as I can, and just crank out 1 or 2 pull-ups. I actually couldn't do any pull-ups about 18 months ago. I'm still only up to being able to do about 5 or 6 in one go, occasionally 7. But I'm mainly focused on the running, so there we go, a little bit of upper body strength. I might sometimes switch it up and do some squats or crunches or whatever but anything on the floor will typically result in a dog licking my face, so the pull-ups work quite well. So I'm just ending nearly at the end of the first run of the day, which is typical for me on a weekday. I'm about nearly 3k in, although I've done a slightly shorter route today, in about 21 minutes, so over 7 minutes per k, and that's pretty typical for me. Obviously on the way, and I've got my daughter with me on a scooter, and it's uphill, and I'm wearing her school bag and whatever. So it's very easy pace. There you go. I mean, you think my 5k pace is almost 3:30 per k now, and yet my easy training pace is often 7 minutes per k. And this feels very, very easy. Obviously I'm able to talk here. I'll get home and have my breakfast and head up for my first meeting of the day. And that's it really, nothing else to add. So that morning run's complete and I'm back home, and now it's time for breakfast. Obviously being carnivore, it is a meat shock horror. This morning I have got burgers, homemade obviously, with 20% fat beef mince. I've sprinkled a little bit of pink salt on top, and I have treated myself today, and I've got 1 slice of bacon and a slice of cheese as well, which I mix and match the cheese depending on how I'm feeling. I do find it's a nice treat. So here it is in all its glory. So I'm going to go and enjoy that before having my first meeting of the day. And I shall catch up with you probably around lunchtime, but it's going to be raining, so I may not be able to record anything whilst I take the dog out for a walk. Wednesday would normally be drills day, but I'm tapering for a half marathon, so I'm probably not going to do a run at lunchtime today. Another part of my regular training is some sort of breathing training. This could be meditation, but I do find I've got an Airofit lung trainer, so I tend to use that at least once a day, trying to follow their routine. I honestly don't know if it makes any difference, but I have found that when I set my initial 18-17 back in October, I was using it pretty much every day, and again in January and February I was using it pretty frequently, and again I've started PBing. Whether that's just coincidence or whether I am breathing better, I don't know, but this is, I'll do a really boring bit of the video and just show you me breathing on it using one of its exercise routines for only a few seconds, and then I'll stop the video and come back to you again at lunchtime.
Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out.
So I'm out for my lunchtime walk. This is quite often a 2-mile run-ish, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, depends what I'm like. Rarely more than that. Wednesdays is normally drills, but as I said, I think in the previous part of the video, I'm tapering currently for a half marathon, and I'm doing lots of extra runs with my wife at the moment. And I'm out at the moment with this one, the dog, taking her for a walk. Great way of getting some fresh air. And don't let people tell you that walking doesn't count as training. It's time on your feet, moving, your heart rate's up a bit. It's a good way of moving and active recovery, if nothing else. I had lunch just before I came out, about 11:45. Half of what I had for breakfast. I didn't take anything to that, it's just a burger with a bit of salt on top, shot coral beef. Yeah, I'll probably be out with the dog for around half an hour now. And then when I get home, I think today I've got a meeting, so I probably won't, but I quite often do either a little bit of strength training or perhaps some massage with a massage gun on my legs, but I'll probably do that later today. And that's it really. As I say, normally if I do run at lunchtime and it's drills, it'd be very easy pace like I did earlier, sort of 6-7 minutes per kilometre. And yeah, it's a bit wet today, so that's not ideal, but don't mind. Looking forward to the summer in a bit, which is strange for me. I normally like it being cold. And those hills over there that I showed you of at the start, those are great for training in the summer. I do lots of runs up there. I did actually run up one of those a couple of weeks ago, and my legs ached for days afterwards. But cool, I shall keep going later. I shall try and do a little bit of video on my strength training and massage to give you a bit more of insight into my average weekday. So it's now after work. I had my dinner at about, for this helpful one watching me, about 3 o'clock, slightly early today. I haven't got to pick my daughter up till a little bit later, so get to do things a bit earlier. Normally I'd have done the second school run, so it's another 2.5-3 miles before doing this, but going to make the most of a bit of supposed peace and quiet, and I will get on and do the sort of some of the massage gun, followed by some strength training. I typically just use the massage gun, various different heads I use. I'll do it for about 10-15 minutes, mainly just covering my legs, in particular any sore spots. And that's that. And then after I've done that, I'll say I'll do some strength training, and the dog absolutely loves it when I use this. She's got a real hatred for the massage gun, no idea why. But there we go. So as mentioned, typically the next part of my day, most afternoons, I will do some sort of strength training. It's normally a very small routine, only about 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes half an hour, but not normally much more than that. At the moment I'm just doing some basic calf raises and toe raises to help protect against Achilles and shin injuries, apparently. Certainly seems to work for me. I've noticed a lot of it, so I tend to do about 15 forward, 15 back, and do that 2-3 times, spaced out with a couple of minutes gap. In the gap I'll normally use the dumbbells and do some just sort of bicep curls with shoulder lifts, and a few other little bits, some tricep work. And then I'll typically get down on the floor and do some core work, so crunches and hip thrusts and things. And then I've also got some resistant bands where I'll do some basic quad, sort of hamstring, ITB sort of strengthening exercises, but I'll do a more detailed video on that another time, I'm sure. So that's the next part of my routine. After this, I will be thinking about when I need to pick my daughter up, so that'll be the next run. And then I think I need to go out with my wife when she gets home as well for another little run, as she's been trying to get out more recently as well. So much would be much of a taper. These runs will see me get up to about 300 and something, 80, 90 miles for the year, which, considering we're not even at the end of February, is pretty good going for me. I'm sure it's a record. My ever helpful dog is still watching me, thinking, why on earth is he doing all this stuff? I'm just going to sleep. Why doesn't he sleep? And yeah, so I will come back to you later, possibly on the run to pick my daughter up, maybe on the run with my wife, or perhaps after both of those, just to do a little review of the day. I don't know if I said in the last bit clip, but I did have my dinner before this as well, which was basically a repeat of breakfast minus the bacon and cheese, so just a couple of beef burgers. It's just the best way of keeping the costs down and getting all the nutrients I need, and seems to be working for me. So there we go. So I'm out in the rain with Scarlett for her, all you can see is black down there, Scarlett for her last walk of the day. I didn't actually have to run too fast. I've actually only done about 4.5 miles today. I'll try and bring up my Strava profile and show that. It's actually not much for me. I'm averaging over 7 miles a day this year, so fingers crossed that's all good. That's what I need. A bit of resting at the moment. I mean, obviously I've done an hour's walking as well, 20 minutes strength training, 20 minutes with the massage thing, the Airofit, so plenty going on. And then, yeah, when I get back, I shall try and stitch this all together to go up on YouTube soon, and try and do a Strava profile as well.